So for me, color stories are very important. I have some experience as an artist. So playing with color, mixing color, putting colors together, and just a focus on general color theory is certainly my strong suit, and this is where I get to play the most. So I love blues and greens together, you know, whether it's a sapphire blue and an emerald green, or a more cobalt blue with a leaf green. So subtle changes in color, in shades, in hues. Another one of my favorite color combinations is sort of a deep purple like this, but with a red. See, everything color coordinates even when I sit down. I love that. I love looking at two things together that I feel talk to each other in some way, even if it's something that is unpredictable. So, you know, maybe a pastel with something that's more saturated, vice versa. I do think that this has now come to become our signature, which is great because it's certainly where I feel the most comfortable. I don't know about this season and that season, because I think that people shouldn't care so much about what works one season to another season. I think what is important is what works for you, what works for your personality. If you're a little reticent, maybe shy, not an extrovert, then maybe you don't want to put like a few bold colors together, and perhaps you want to try and limit the color story to one key color and then neutralize them with maybe blacks and whites. For us this season, the key color has been blue, you know, intense shades of blues going all the way to indigos and even black, and then offset with a sort of sandy, golden, amber, because we were inspired by the Tuaregs. Blue is a very key color for this tribe, and you often see pictures of them wearing these clothes against the sands which they inhabit, and so we picked that color to offset the blue, the sand sort of amber color. But that doesn't mean that if you feel like wearing red because you're bold and you know, you're one of those girls that is not afraid, is not intimidated by color, then by all means you can wear warm colors, cool colors. I think color is seasonless. I think it just depends on you. No, I never really make any of my clothes trying to figure out who is going to wear them, other than just more people like me. I mean, it's nice that celebrities wear it because lots of people are watching what celebrities do, but gosh, I don't know, maybe Alia Bhatt would be, because you know, the brocade skirts are younger, a little more playful, and I think Alia would fit that bit quite well. Having said that, I think I'm more excited when real people are wearing it versus celebrities. So I don't know, that feels more, what's the word, more gratifying when, you know, just a regular person is wearing it, because they don't have a team of stylists to assist them. And so it seems to me that what I'm trying to communicate has really made its point when people have access to it and enjoy it, when they're just, you know, living the lives you and I live. You know, Neha has a very strong sense of personal style, which she always infuses in anything she wears, including our clothes. And what I love about Neha is that because she has a very strong set of likes and dislikes, she will wear something and she really will maximize your garment, you know, whether it's with the way she decides to do her hair, or with an accessory that she puts on, or with the shoes, or with the bag, and somehow she can really bring the whole look together, and it's still quite seamless, even though it might not be exactly what we might have envisioned for that outfit via a lookbook or a campaign or a runway model. But she will find a way to make it her own and still do it justice. That I think is it's not easy, but she does it quite effortlessly. You know, championing brocade wasn't some strategy, I don't think. I mean, I wore brocade, an old vintage brocade lehenga for my own wedding, only because to me, I want comfort first. Not to say that I don't want to look stylish and look dramatic and look luxurious and be fabulous, like many other girls, but I don't want to do it at the expense of comfort. And I find that when things get very embroidered or have a lot of things that are embellished and added on, they tend to become heavy, and so then they need to be backed, and then they need to have lining and can and boning and all this other stuff that makes, for me, the garment particularly cumbersome. And I like things to be fuss-free. Even as a bride, I had pockets in my lehenga, I was wearing flats, I was very comfortable. I could cross my legs and lie down, and I didn't, and I thought that for me, that was such an important part of why I wore that outfit, that when I started to design clothes, I wanted to make sure that when people are dressing up for whatever occasion, be it Diwali or weddings, I wanted people that got the DNA of the brand to have an option where if they thought that being fuss-free was the only way to go for them, they had no option because that's the kind of humans they are, then they should have these options. And so it's not that I don't appreciate it on other people, but it's just, I just don't want our clothes to weigh 15 kilos. And I feel the brocade with the gold thread and with the intricacy of its weaving allows something to be beautiful and dramatic and luxurious and look so aesthetically sound without it being scratchy and getting snagged into things and getting stuck in your clothes, and without it just being uncomfortable, really. So I think for me, brocade does that. It bridges that gap a little bit. You can dress up, you can be formal, but you can still really be comfortable because it's light and it's fuss-free. So in that sense, it keeps your style a little effortless. Being cliched, okay. Inspiration is a funny thing. I think that you can't go looking for it. It comes to you. You have to just keep an open mind. For me, I'm inspired by the littlest things, the most innocuous. I did one collection that was inspired by my daughter's geometry homework. She was drawing some triangles, and then I did a whole collection based on lines and angles. Or it can come from art, and for me specifically it does come from art and proportion and line and architecture. I love negative and positive space, but then I love textiles, I love carpets, so it could really come from a little patch of a carpet that has this beautiful color combination. So sometimes it's as abstract as music and travel and dance, and sometimes it can be as literal as you see a corner of someone's sofa sitting alongside some wood panel and you think, oh my God, that's a great color combination. So I think it's tough for me to answer that question because it can come from very everyday things or from things that are a little more elaborate. My personal style is actually, of course, over the years it has changed, but I feel like in the last decade or 15 years, I've kind of plateaued, which I suppose is part of growing up. You try a little bit of everything and then you realize most things don't really work for you. There are a few things that work for you and you have to stick with that. But my personal style is an extension of who I am. I'm very practical by nature, but I'm not very formal as a person. So I like to go places and cross my legs. Even if I'm at a restaurant, I like to put one foot up. So I try to make clothes that will allow me to just relax and be myself. So you'll rarely see me in things that are too tight, too short. I just can't be fast. I like to have the option to sprawl my legs and lie down if I want. And I think I like things to be free-spirited, but also quite elegant. So I like the dichotomy in two things. I'm a Gemini, so I like two diametrically opposed things at any one point in time, which makes me love something that's quite bohemian but also very classic. I love color, but I also want it to be minimal. So it's always this push and pull between two things, which I think is really an extension of who I am. So my personal style is a bit tricky, but I think it's a little bit of both those things. I think that over time I hear from other people that we have a distinct color story, which I guess is true because of my experience in fine arts and my comfort level with it, I guess. But I think also just the way I look at proportions and I'm very focused on how things fit and look on people. So they don't have to be fitted, but I don't necessarily want them to be anti-fit. I don't want anything to be anti-anything. I think that I do apply that rule of dichotomies to the clothes. So I love celebrating the fact that I am a woman. I'm not trying to make women dress like men in the name of equality. I do like that there is a separation, but we always have some elements that are masculine in our clothes. So if you put a kurta, we might put it with a men's trouser. I like it to be strong, but still soft, which is why I think in the end our clothes are a bit, fierce yet feminine. I want there to be a little bit of this, but a little bit of that. But in the end, I want us to celebrate our differences. So I think that our clothes echo that, the proportion, the line, how it fits, how long it should be. Not everything looks good on everybody and in every shape. And I'm mindful that when I make things, I make a bunch of girls in our teams where there are different sizes, different shapes, to see what works, what sits where. I think these kind of things are really important, and I think I was very clear when I started making clothes what I wanted to say with them. I found that when we launched the label, there really wasn't enough focus on India modern sort of pet clothes that were rooted in India, but that somehow transcended geographical boundaries. They didn't have to be so ethnic or too costumey, and so I think we had a first mover advantage when we did this, clothes that were comfortable, and I do think that has helped separate us, because there's only one person that designs everything, and that's me. I have a team that assists in getting things done. So if we design, if we have an idea for a pattern or for a motif, they'll help me make it, but there aren't a team of designers that are making pants and shirts and skirts, and that voice is quite singular, and so everything gets edited and filtered through that voice, and I think that separates us from the rest, because it's a woman making clothes for other women, and I think that is a huge advantage, because who else knows us better, and all the little things that we complain about and how critical we are of ourselves. I think that it helps me navigate those things quite well. I don't know, I guess if it's fashion, see, for me, style and fashion are so varied, and I do think that there are very few style icons now, because I guess there's this need to wear something different each time you go out, and there are stylists coming in and helping you do that, and I think somewhere your own personal voice does get lost. So I find that in terms of, I would say Tilda Swinton, for instance, is a great style icon, because she knows exactly who she is. She has a very fierce sort of way of dressing, and then you don't really see her wearing one thing one day, wearing a gown one day, wearing a sari one day, then wearing hot pants another day, and then wearing something anti-fit the next day, and then wearing something sustainable the next. I think that you have to know who you are and then just go with that. So for instance, Rekha is a great style icon, she will wear her kanjivaram with her jewelry, and then that's who she is, and then you don't necessarily see her in leather tights, and I don't know if she does, and she should wear them if she wants, but you come to expect her to dress a certain way, because this is who she is, which is quite important to me. And fashion can be very freewheeling and can be quite flippant, so I'm more interested in people that are style icons, where they're really wearing things because they believe in them, versus because that's what's in right now. Because it's such a different thing. So style icon, maybe not. Fashion, of course, all of them, because they're all wearing fashionable clothes, and they all look lovely, and they all do their hair, and they all dress up, and they're all having fun. Sona, Malia, Kareena, all of them look fabulous in whatever they wear, but it's the difference between, and I wrote this in a column that I just wrote a little while ago, it's the difference between when you think of Gayatri Devi, you think of a very vivid mental image of what she represents, right? You'll think of a chiffon sari, and you'll think of a pearl necklace, and as predictable as it might be, it's still a very vivid picture. But if you think of Kendall Jenner, what comes to your mind? I don't know, nothing comes to my mind because she can wear anything and she does wear anything and everything. So to me, that's the difference between fashion and style. One is timeless and memorable and consistent. And fashion is what it is. You forget about it in 2 weeks and you move on to something else. And so to me, I don't really care about fashion as much as I do care about style. Oh God, my daughter asks me this all the time. Colors I'm loving, and the blue, I think blue. I'm loving the blues. Style is never passé, but maybe a trend that's passé now is maybe the skinny jeans. I hope it's passé anyway. I'm both actually, because I love dichotomies. So I'm a minimalist, maximalist, I think. Relaxed. I think there's definitely more of a focus on Pret. This isn't a one-word answer, is it? No. Because I was like, Pret. So I think we're definitely focusing on Pret. I think that we've slowly shifted this whole trying to make clothes only just to dress people so that they can go for weddings, and we're trying to think of alternatives for them for their regular lives, you know, where they go pick up kids from school or they have lunch and dinner and cocktails. I think it is shifting. I think that we could perhaps have slightly more distinct voices as opposed to just doing a little more of the same. I do feel that sometimes it becomes a little homogenous because people are, maybe they love something and they feel like, oh, I can just do that, but I'll just change the color or I'll just change the fabric, and that hurts the ecosystem a little bit. But having said that, there are some people doing fantastic things that really care about where their clothes are being made and being responsible about how they manufacture their clothes. And so some of the young people are doing amazing stuff, but in all, I think we do need to have a point of view before we launch labels. I mean, maybe this is just a little bit of unsolicited advice to the young ones. That'll really help change what we can do, because we have such a plethora of amazing fabrics and textiles, and this way we can really stand out even in an international fashion space.